right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I shouldn't be muted. I should be good. You should be able to hear me, making sure that I get that right. Welcome back to game number 3. Oh my goodness, George Mason have won twice in a row. They're looking for their third. They're looking to just clean up this best of 5, make it an easy afternoon, go home early. But Texas A&M, they've got an opportunity to start the return sweep this time. Let's see if they can make it happen as they ban away the Nico. That's the champion that's caused them so much grief. Prince, we can give a sigh of relief because no more Pop Blossoms are going to be in this game.
Really solid ban by Texas A&M. Finally banning out this champion that's been so destructive in team fights. Again, when both teams opt into these 5v5 massive brawls, Nico becomes such a high priority target and so much in terms of the damage profile for George Mason. In that last game, if you looked at the damage stat, she actually was the highest damage on her team, even with having a Sivir sitting on 4 items. When the Nico is out damaging a 4-item Sivir, you know that she was super effective in the game. Pretty much starting out from level 1 where she was able to get so much damage and harass onto the Aurelia pick in the mid lane, transitioning into that mid-game team fights and late game when she was able to get fantastic Pop Blossoms onto 3 and 4 men on the side of Texas A&M. Jarvan is going to be taken, and they pick up Caitlyn for the side of George Mason. New pick.
So, originally they've gone, let's see here. The first one was a Kai'Sa. Second one, they said, you know what, let's try out a Sivir. This time around, they say, you know what, these aren't working for us. Let's go for the Siege comp. Let's go for the very safe, wild-ranged pick comp. Morgana, Caitlyn, two of the best champions for that type of composition, grabbed by the side of GMU.
This Morgana has been something that was banned out in game number 1 and game number 2 by Texas A&M. Seeing it as a power pick for that bot lane, but this Caitlyn Morgana lane is one of the most deadly lanes in League. It does so much damage, especially with the double range, and the amount of CC that Morgana offers allows for Caitlyn to get those traps set up really easily, and they can blast lanes out really quickly if Texas A&M isn't playing respectfully enough. And in a world where tower plating is so important, the amount of gold that you can get if you have a really dominant bot lane and have a jungle that's able to assist that bot lane, they can transition into sitting at a 3k gold lead, 4k gold lead if they can rotate around this Caitlyn Morgana lane to the different lanes to break open towers early on.
Indeed. So the side of Texas A&M, they said, you know what? We saw cannon worked well for you guys last game. They had the cannon. It didn't work out so well for them, but mostly that was because of the Nico. Basically, just did more damage than the cannon itself. And so once again, Kracius going to be on that cannon. Zest playing around with Jarvan one more time. We'll see if he can find a bit more success this time with that cannon. Could be a pretty powerful combination as Anime Lover going to lock in the jungle for the side of GMU, grabbing the Sejuani. We've seen these kind of two junglers, Sejuani and J4. Oh, they are the premier junglers, it seems, in this best of 5 series, as they're going to be not swapped this time. Hold on. I'm trying to remember, because they didn't swap teams, my brain is kind of pausing for a second. The side of GMU was on red side last time. They wanted red side again this time. And so the two champions have swapped sides.
I really like having this Ezreal ban being thrown out by the side of George Mason. It is a pick that Kushina has played game 1, game 2. Throwing him on something that's a little bit more uncomfortable, throwing him on a pick where if he doesn't, by banning out both of the top tier, the S tier AD carry picks, you kind of have to see what Kushina can pull out in game number 3, the deciding game, especially against the Caitlyn Morgana. With the Thresh already been locked in, I don't see what can really contest early on against this lane. And it's going to be really rough on Kushina in the lane phase because Thresh really isn't going to be able to get much against the Morgana pick, and there's not really much ADs that can match up against the Caitlyn early on. They might look for the Jinx and just say, ooh, we'll have to see what they're going to pick out. Vladimir being locked in for the side of George Mason, and again, when you are going for these team fight comps, Vladimir is such a big nuisance He gets so much damage off. We've seen in the LCK, the Vladimir either in the top or mid lane becoming such a headache for multiple teams as he gets so much damage off with the Hemo Plague, with the Tides of Blood. Kai'Sa being locked in for Texas A&M, and we're going to have to see how Kushuna plays this one out.
Indeed. That Kai'Sa, an interesting choice. I was running through in my head other ADC options. Again, Sivir was still available, and when you can Spell Shield the Morgana Dark Binding, there's some good opportunities. They say we're not interested in that. There was also another champion that's kind of showing up a little bit more, the Kalista I was thinking about, where you've got that ultimate, throw the Thresh in, get some plays going down. But Kalista, not going to be played this time. It's going to be that Kai'Sa in Kushuna's hands. It was played in Game 1.
Game 1 by Enrique.
Enrique, yeah, that's what I was running through. I was kind of...
over, yeah.
Go for it.
To Kushuna, and we are going to be seeing the Kai'Sa Thresh pick for Texas A&M. I personally would have liked maybe seeing a Galio pick, taking that away from the side of George Mason, because if the Galio had been picked up, this is such a monstrous teamfight comp here. You have the Kennen in the top lane, you have Ori Jarvan combo in the mid and jungle, and with the Kai'Sa Galio, you can just fly into that backline. I really like that. Neither of these teams are really changing how they want to play. They are changing the picks around. They are trading jungle picks. They are trading some AD carry picks. But in terms of how the game wants to play out, Texas A&M are sticking with this team fight. We love to team fight. We love to do this ball comp where we just run at you and you either beat us in the fight or you die. And hopefully in game number 3, this will be the turnaround. This is the game where they can get good. They can get a good start in the mid lane. They can get good ganks off from Z3SS, and they don't have to really rely on Z3SS making clutch Baron steals. They can just have a really good standard snowball as they transition into the mid game. For the side of GMU, though, picking up this Vladimir and actually picking the Jace in the mid lane, this is a matchup we don't really get to see anymore. Jace mainly picks in the top lane as pretty much the premier top laner. In the mid lane, he does have a good matchup into Orianna. He can trade pretty well. The problem is, if George Mason played the way they've been playing in game number 1 and game number 2, the Jace really doesn't fit into what they want to do as a team comp. Because Sejuani wants to fly in, Vladimir wants to fly in. You want to have Caitlyn and Morgana in the backline. Maybe Morgana comes in there, lands some good bindings and some good soul shackles. But in terms of team fighting, Jace really doesn't fit in as well as we've seen the Nico in game number 1 and game number 2. But if George Mason, again, switch up their style, maybe go for a little bit of more split push, maybe some poke, where they have Vladimir in the side lane and they run the 4-1 comp, they can play it really well and can scale really well if he is a side lane carry.
And the best thing that I'm seeing from George Mason in the last 2 games is their deeper vision has been fantastic, and they really play around that vision. And when you roll a comp that can do a bit more of those picks, like the Morgana and the Caitlyn, even the Sejuani ultimate, it gives you those opportunities to choose when you're actually making a dive and trying to kill somebody in rotation. And that's one of the things that Zest has done multiple times before, is he's very aggressive. Now, last game, we did see him kind of take a little bit of a foot off the gas pedal, but if he goes all in, this is game 3. This is everything on the line for A&M. You have to imagine that Zest is going to feel the pressure and he's going to want to be going in. And if he's going in, you've got your vision, a semi-pick comp, but that can also have decent collapse when it comes to Sejuani and Jace, who's also with his ultimate a fairly fast champion moving around the Rift. You could basically punish the over-engagement from the side of A&M. So there's options and opportunities for GMU, but they do have the more difficult comp to play, whereas A&M, once again, they're sticking with their classic. They say, every game, we team fight crazy, and we keep even until the last portion of the game when things really fall apart and suddenly the game is over. Maybe this time we can once again do the same thing, and it'll tip in our favor, and we'll be the ones who actually win it.
Again, in a best-of-5 series, you get to have 2 games where maybe you do fall. They didn't fall behind. That's the thing. You mentioned it. Texas A&M stay even throughout the game. They always are going blow for blow. It's just in those late-game fights, we've seen Kushuna get caught out by Eon in Game 1 and in Game 2. And it's all on his shoulders. He is the primary carry for that team. He does the consistent damage, the AD carry for your team. The big problem that I do see here for this late game is that Vladimir is such a monster in these late game team fights. You can always do a ball comp, but Vladimir can pretty much solo turn these team fights with if he gets a good hemo play and if he gets some assistance from the Sejuani pick. That's the problem. Can you burst out the Vladimir, or can you make these team fights where Vladimir is not a part of it, where you can get a pick off onto picks like the Jace or the Caitlyn? Because if you do end up opting for that 5v5, the Vladimir is such a big problem. I don't see how Texas A&M deal with it if the game extends to that 30 to 35 minute point.
Yeah, we've seen the late game scaling champions, and these games do go to the later stages. I think both games have actually reached that 30-minute mark. Sivir definitely being impactful in game number 2 because of it. If this game gets there, Vladimir going to be one of those trouble to deal with champions. So again, A&M, pressure's on them to start early, never let their foot off the gas pedal, make those plays, and make something happen. And as is the classic NA production, we start the game off with a nice little pause. But ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you, Everlife Gaming. Thank you for the raid to XLNC Shoutcasting, the third game of the Texas A&M versus George Mason Collegiate League of Legends playoffs. This is the game in which everything is on the line because A&M have to come out with a victory. Otherwise, it's all over.
And that's the good thing about having a best of 5. You mentioned it. You have 2 games to where you can see what's going on. Texas A&M isn't getting blown out of the water too early on. They are staying even in it. And if you can get this game 3 win, you really turn that momentum of the series around so quickly, because then the pressure is on George Mason, because they just lost game number 3. Texas A&M comes into game number 4 with the advantage, with the momentum in the series. And if you lose that game number 4 on the side of George Mason, that mental that you have to have breaks so hard, because you think, oh my god, are we actually going to get reverse sweeped? So this is the game. This is when Texas A&M have to take a stand. They have to say, we are good at team fighting. We've stayed even with you. We've just made some late game key mistakes, but those can be fixed up. You can, as a team, just play a little bit cleaner, play a little bit safer, and have it so that your carries can play these team fights really well. One thing I want to note is Kashuna actually wasted the cleanse right at the start.
Ooh.
And so that's going to be a big issue if he ends up getting caught early on by this Morgana Caitlyn lane, which has so much advantage.
10 gold onto the Morgana. They cleared the ward. That's it. GMU, they're going to win game number 3. That's it. It's all over. May as well. I'm kidding. It's always this opportunity.
Such a gold advantage.
Right, 10 gold, uncomebackable. No opportunity there as Black Panda actually gets knocked down to about half. Nice engaged anime lover. That's who I want to keep my eyes on this game. Absolutely a monster. Game number 1 and 2 on the Nico pick. Was banned away for game number 3, so is now on this Jace. Want to see what he does with this champion, where he goes, if he's really just a poke onto the Orianna, or if he tries to roam and make some plays in these other lanes.
In terms of just starting out, everyone going pretty standard picks. Anime Lover is going to go for the D-Blade in the early lane just to get some poke out onto Mr. Black Panda with that range advantage. Does deal with a little bit more damage even against the clockwork windup that Orianna does have. Again, a lot of these lanes for the side of George.
Hold on, Death Sentence onto the Caitlyn pretty early on. It's level 2, so the play's down. Flash Force out by Enrique. The Caitlyn has to run, and the first blood goes over to Kashuna in the bottom lane with a nice flash to make sure that Caitlyn goes down. Who needs cleanse?
I don't know what happened. Enrique and Rylist had the lane advantage there. They'd gotten to the wave earlier than Kashuna and the Holy Slurp. How did they not hit level 2? There must have been something that happened that we didn't catch where Enrique and Rylist maybe backed off for some reason.
There's an engage at the top lane from the side of Zest, looking for the auto attack just to get the slow onto Ione. He is slow. Nice flash away from the flag and drag though. So Ione gets out as no, the Rush GCs. Are you kidding me? We can't have this in game 3. But that means we go to a pause to get a little more time to talk about what has happened. Yeah, in the bottom lane, the fact that Thresh hit level 2 early might be due to the Kai'Sa using her Q to push the wave a touch faster, whereas for GMU, they may have been slow pushing, letting the minions drop themselves low, and then just cleaning them up one at a time. Because you can see the farm advantage that Kai'Sa already has, she may have just been shoving the lane out a lot faster.
I think you're right on that. I'm just watching the replay just to see what had happened in the bot lane. It looked like they tried to push the wave in and get a ward into the tri-bush, maybe scared of that Jarvan early game cheese he can do with the red buff start. And the wave was just a little bit too far out. Enrique wasn't able to contest the wave with the help of Rylist, and with the Holy Slurp hitting level 2, he glanced such a key hook, and that feels so good going into game number 3. Getting that advantage in the lane, and again, Caitlyn Morgana is such a fearsome lane, but if you get that advantage, if Kashuna is right now sitting on the pickaxe, if you can get the gold lead over the Caitlyn Morgana, they can't really do much, and once they hit that mid-game dip where Caitlyn needs to get to those 2 to 3 item power spike before she does become relevant again, the Kai'Sa can take over.
All right, well, the Thresh has come back, but obviously he's still trying to deal with something as we're still remaining in this pause in the top lane. It was a nice attempt by Zest to get a little bit of damage down onto the Vladimir, find a gank that burned the flash, which means he could return, and he's still kept that flash of his own. So, uninterested in necessarily going for the kill, was more focused on just burning flashes and maybe making some repeat ganks, or giving Cannon just a bit more of a breather room in that top lane.
Yep, just good play by Z3SS to come up there and make the gank happen for him, the flash. I'm happy they actually didn't overstep and try to go for maybe the EQ flash predict onto the Vladimir, as there was a large wave that was pushing up, and there could have been a threat to where Vladimir, maybe with the help of the minions, does end up 2v1ing, and if Vladimir does get ahead in this lane, it's going to be a big issue for Texas A&M. That is the carry that they need to shut down, because these games are going to that 35-minute mark.
All in by Anime Lover in the mid lane, dropping Mr. Black Panda down to about half. He's just going to keep smashing her away. Knocks her, but without any mana. He's going to be back and away afterwards, but gets a good trade against that Orion.
And again, this Kai'Sa sitting on the pickaxe. Enrique was forced to just back, not able to get much, and with the Kai'Sa having the pickaxe advantage, if Holy Slurp ever lands a hook either onto the Morgana or the Caitlyn here, they will win the 2v2. It's going to be up to the Holy Slurp to land these hooks through the Black Shield and to switch targets whenever necessary. Oh, they're going again.
Yep, once again, Ziggs returns to that top lane. None of the flash isn't there, but they see Firefly, so they back away. Not interested in going quite all in underneath the turret. Did they learn from last game? Oh, nice spell shield onto the Caitlyn. Fresh decides not to take the death sentence in. Might have been his own death, but I want to comment quickly. Keep your eye on his flash, because he didn't put his flash earlier, and one of the things that Threshers do is they flash play to start things off, so if the opportunity arises, Holy Slurp might not be against doing that, which he looks like he's stepping forward at the moment. He's back away for now.
Most likely he will probably wait for the Ignite cooldown to come up, as it is so important in these 2v2s. Morgana is taking the exhaust in this matchup, maybe going for a little bit more for the team fighting, not really going for the 2v2 advantage. Ooh.
Oh, Lantern in, pulling the J4 forward, but a nice backing away by Enrique and Rylas. They say, we're not going to have any of it. They didn't really have vision on J4 coming in, but it was just that Holy Slurp stepping forward. They say, we're going to play hyper safe and back away.
And I like even going for that play on the side of Texas A&M. Just making that play happen kind of gets into the mind of Enrique and Rylas, because they can't really push up and get the advantage that this Caitlyn Morgana pick is supposed to do. The Caitlyn Morgana pick happens and is strong in this lane because it does contest so hard for the tower plating. You can get so much gold early on to get Caitlyn to that IE plus attack speed item power spike. But if she can't really get to that point, in the mid game, this Kai'Sa Thresh lane will win out.
Oh, here comes the Sejuani. Firefly's only level 5, doesn't have the ultimate. Mr. Black Panda, it does. He's actually got the advantage of the ultimate. Mr. Shockwave will be flashed by the Jace. Anime Lover gets out, but without those ultimates, they can't lock down the Oriana. She gets a little bit of a return, burning that Jace's flash.
Not able to pick anything up in the mid, and Anime Lover actually burning the flash, like you mentioned, is going to become a big issue if Z3SS actually hits level 6 on the Carbon. Is going to be able to force onto Anime Lover there. In terms of the jungle farm, Firefly is ahead in terms of CS. He is getting to the level 6 points, will hit level 6 way before JTRS hits it. It's just will he be able to do anything when he hits that level 6 power spike over the Jarvis? And it's going to be up to him to try to turn this bot lane around, because whenever you see a Caitlyn Morgana getting pushed into the tower, that means there's something wrong down there. There's something very wrong.
Alright, with that lead though, the Kai'Sa pressure continues to mount. Want to check in on the gold real quick. Currently sitting on 1,300. J4 is around the corner, so they could try to make another Lantern play. They're actually going to throw out the hook. It's going to miss. So, Zest is just going to be continuing to hide in the jungle. He's actually waiting for the Caitlyn Morgana to potentially step forward. They're going to play safe and wise and walk away, just getting some wards down and recalling. We'll see what they start their buys with.
In terms of what Texan wants to do with this game, this is a solid play, having the Jarvan camp on the bot side. If he can make the play happen onto the Caitlyn Morgana, it's good. The problem is he's falling very far behind in comparison to the Sejuani. Sejuani's right now just farming. She's able to fully clear out her jungle while Jarvan's kind of camping around this bot side. And he is giving his bot lane pressure. He's just falling behind in terms of the solo matchup against Sejuani, and he's not going to be as tanky or as effective in comparison to the Sejuani, as she's hitting that. She's getting close to that Cinderhulk point. Again, more time being wasted by Z3SS in this mid lane. 8 minutes in, level 5.
And that is actually giving Sejuani time to steal away his own blue buff, which you may not care about having it on J4, but you want it on your Orianna for sure. Now, that does mean Sejuani's blue buff is up and available that J4 could try to take away. Hold on, this is a wild roam by the Thresh. The Holy Slurp coming up to the top side. Going to be wrapping around, but he didn't even check the pixel bush for the control ward, so he's seen. They know that he's there. They've pinged him out. He's going to come in. He still finds the hook, though, onto the Jace. He's waiting for the play. This shockwave going to pull Rylas in. Anime Lover still trying to escape, so Rylas is the target. Last auto attack from Black Panda picks up the Morgana. May not be the target they wanted, but it's the target they'll take.
And the Holy Slurp should have been on a ward there. He should have been spotted by that pink ward in the pixel bush, but not. Anime Lover just not respecting him. They end up actually trading a kill over. So pretty big mistake in the mid lane by the side of George Mason. They're falling a little bit, falling pretty far behind 400 gold, especially in the early game, and this is going to give over that blue buff you mentioned. 20 coming in.
20 found the ultimate on direct, but he's a little shaky. J4 is going to be popped. This is the lack of health that you were talking about for the side of Texas A&M, as Krishna has to run away. A little bit of cube says, you know what, GMU, back away. Now they're going to be on the Mountain Drake.
And again, in a lot of these situations, we see that Texas A&M get the lead, but they just overstep again. They try to go.
Oh, it's a pause. Remake! NA production remake. As soon as you start to lose, you say, hold on, hold on, hold on.
Something happened there. Sorry, guys.
It's not my fault. It's Riot's fault. We got to remake I doubt it. I doubt we're doing a remake. I think somebody might just be having a little bit of a lag issue. Either way.
Continuing with the point. Again, they get a good pick onto Rylas there. They're able to get the kill into the mid lane, and they try to transition into the blue buff. The problem being in that fight was that Mr. Black Panda had already expended the Orianna Shockwave, and she actually had 0 mana to assist in that situation. So they tried to make the 3-man invade into this red quadrant blue buff, but they have no mana in their mid laner, they have no Shockwave on their mid laner, and Z3SS is so far behind. Look at the CS difference between the Sejuani and the Jarvan right now. He's tried to camp this bot lane, he's tried to get camps on this mid lane, but he's falling behind in terms of levels, in terms of gold, and if he can't make these ganks work out super well, he's going to end up falling behind to a point where he's not going to become a tank, and he's not going to become the front line that his team needs to get this game going.
Down 1,000 gold against this Sejuani, and you saw how fast he was popped. And again, GMU, they don't have all of the teleports, but they are just so fast on the collapsing. They say we may have lost one in the mid lane, but that doesn't mean we're just going to give everything up. We're going to chase you through our jungle and make sure to secure some kills, as well as now the Mountain Drake setting themselves up well. They'll be over 1,000 gold by the time they finish this Mountain Drake, and I don't think Kai'Sa, unless a perfect Void Seeker flies in and snipes it away, can steal away the Mountain Drake. So at this point, though, as we're continuing to listen to the beautiful whirring of the pause noise in the background, maybe I can play some music to drown it out. Where is the PowerPoint for Texas A&M? Do they have anything? Is there anywhere on the map that you can say they're doing well here? This is something they should continue to try to play through and focus their attention on to get further ahead.
So their mid lane priority is good. Mr. Black Panda is shoving in the mid lane and getting good roams off. We saw that he's able to respond to that blue buff. Like he got to the blue buff first over Animal
and
Lover.
be
Just the problem is
elevated.
that nobody on the team is either communicating, saying, I have no mana, I have no ulti, I don't think we can fight here. They need to know when they are strong. When they have Orianna Shockwave, when they have multiple members grouped up first, they're strong. When Orianna has no mana and Orianna has no Shockwave, they're not. But the mid lane and the AD for the side of Texas A&M are strong. Kaisa is leading over the Caitlyn. Orianna is leading over the Jace. It's just they do that overstep. We saw in game number 2. They won that team fight around the mid lane where Crocious got such a fantastic penalty, but then they stepped over the tower. They tried to dive, and they get punished for it. And all of these times, Texas A&M is a good team. They play well. Even though it's 2-0 for the side of George Mason, it doesn't that score doesn't show how close these games are. It's just every time they get the advantage, they just take that little extra step over the cliff, and they get punished for it. And right now, another big PowerPoint, you mentioned PowerPoints for Texas A&M. The PowerPoint I want to mention that we actually haven't even talked about is that top lane. Vlad was actually able to pick up the tower plating up top, and nobody's shutting him down right now. Vladimir in the late game is such a menace, and if he's not shut down in the early game, he's kind of just scaling. He's got 2 CDR items. He's gonna get to the point where he has 45% CDR on the Vladimir, and if he's not shut down with the help of Holy Slurp, with the help of Z3SS, this is gonna be a big problem for the side of Texas A&M in game number 3.
Indeed, and they are starting that snowball a little bit about that 1,000 gold lead as we talked about. We are returning to the game. Welcome back, everyone. Wake up from your naps, from your pause naps, as we are back into game. And that means that the side of GMU are just looking for the next play, the next punish they can make, as Thresh is going to land a nice poke and play on the Morgana, who goes golden, throwing down the Soul Shackles, trying to snare up the Thresh. Now maybe he's going to get punished. Goes golden himself. Enrique getting a little bit of a 90 caliber net, but is going to whiff onto the Caitlyn, or the Kaisa, so no extra damage there. But good play disengaged from in the bottom lane. There's still Morgana ultimate down.
To try to make the play happen, but again, Morgana's making it play so safe. And if I am the bot lane for George Mason, I would say don't even try to force anything here. Just try to play safe and just let the advantages that you're soloing outside, especially on the top side, carry you through, because it's not right now their job to carry. And this should be communicated, because it looks like Texas A&M is actually going to force the 4-man dive onto the bot lane with the teleport onto Crocious. This could go really bad really quick.
Well, there's no Soul Shackles for the Morgana, so Caitlyn going to be trying to get hooked up and probably goes down. Rylas is the first one to drop. Orianna secures that one as Holy Slurp drops to the turret, so it's a 2-for-1 trade. But in the end, they are successful at picking up those 2 kills in the bottom lane, and get a little bit back. But that means that Sejuani gets free time on the Scuttle, or the Rift Herald, securing that for the side of GMU.
They might be able to trade if they drop the Rift Herald mid right now. It's gonna be up to what... Oh, they're gonna drop it, and they're gonna just... This might just be in favor of George Mason here. With the Rift Herald, with the Sejuani demolished, they should just pick up mid tower.
After losing 2 in the bottom lane, they say, where can we take our next objective opportunity? Nice play from Thresh, but it means that the Shelly is still going to get the charge onto the turret, and that is a nice chunk of damage, despite all their attempts to keep it from going down, to keep the charge from happening. 3 members.
This is scary.
Fnatic, Rush, Holy Slurp going to be targeted. He dodges away from so much, but in the end, it gets very, very low. Ignite taking away. This is Ronnie will make sure that he falls down the nice for Rush, and now the punish from the side of A&M. They've got the J4 knock up plus kill onto the Morgana. Kaisa picking that one up, going currently 3-0-1, kind of sneaking up in those kills.
And again, in a lot of these situations, it's always being a 1-for-2 trade. They trade 1-for-2 in the bot side after committing 4 members on the side of Texas A&M. They're able to pick up 3 tower plates, but in the mid lane, they break open mid-outer towers, and now having the map so open, it's going to allow Anime Lover to maybe get roams off earlier than Mr. Black Panda to turn around these bot lane players. Because again, the power point for Texas A&M, they've said, is going to be bot lane. Kashuna is their carry, and he's shown that he has the ability to carry out these team fights. The problem being, though, is that the solo laners for George Mason are very far ahead. Even though Anime Lover was far behind in terms of CS, he was able to pick up a lot of those plays and a lot of that gold from that mid lane outer tower. They are able to finally trade, and now the gold is pretty much even for both sides. 300 gold lead for the side of Texas A&M. And going to the mid game, I mentioned this in the champ select, the big problem is this Vladimir. He's just free farming, free scaling, and he's going to become a problem as this mid game team starts.
Yeah, there's 1,000 gold lead for A&M. Well, not quite, 500 gold lead for A&M, but this is one of the first times they've actually started to get a gold lead, as most of the games are kind of coming back from a small gold deficit against GMU, as with those turrets going down in the bottom side and mid, a rotation out of GMU to send Jace, who was their mid laner, down to the bottom side to start that split push, leaving Caitlyn and Morgana to hang out in the mid lane. This time, Anime Lover on the Jace may not be quite as showy with the Nico, and so he's been a little bit slower, but keeping up in farm, generally speaking, against the Orianna, who's made a couple more rotations than he has.
And so the big thing as we do send the bot lanes into the mid side, it's going to be kind of awkward for the side of Texas A&M because they don't really have somebody that can side lane too well. They can send the Kaisa into the side lane. The problem being is that Kaisa and the Thresh really want to stay grouped around the mid so they can respond to whenever Kayla and Morgana try to put pressure in either the top or the side lane. And so if it is Kaisa laning against the Jace, there's always a possibility where Jace somehow catches her in one of these bushes and pretty much 100-0s her. And if that ever happens, that 600 gold bounty and that entire lead that Texas A&M has is going to go down the drain.
Both teams vying around this Mountain Drake, trying to see if they can take a small advantage. Neither one ready to 100% commit to it, as Juani once again starts it up. GMU got 4 members here. Vladimir still on the top side. Kennen is sitting at his turret waiting for a potential teleport play. I think Vladimir is doing the same. They're just waiting to see if he can do it. The Mountain Drake down underneath to 100 out. Will the drop. J4 secures it for the side of A&M, but now the fight is going to kind of close the 2 members. Get it to the back line. He's slicing and dice. It's only going to mean that he goes down, but he drops really slow. A nice heal from the Caitlyn. Keeps Morgana alive. Flash forward from Owen, trying to get the Hemo Plague down. It's only going to be onto 2 members, make it 3, as Zest is going to be the target. They're going to drop him, though. Shockwave, though, takes down Morgana on the backside. However, the health bar from GMU, only 3 members still up until 1 goes down. Jace will fall. Kushina making a nice killer instinct play. Ion not giving up just yet. Heal Sharp dropping low and will help the Orianna secure the kill onto Caitlyn, and now the Vladimir is the only one left here. What can he do? He can do nothing but go golden and wait for his own demise as A&M will get the Drake and the team fight taken 4-1.
And Kashuna plays that so well, but the big hero of that team fight was Mr. Black Panda, landing a 3-man Orianna Shockwave, getting so much damage down onto the side of George Mason, and fantastic play by the side of Texas A&M. They win that team fight whole-handedly. They secure the Mountain Dragon. They get the 4-1 trade, and what a great team fight. It looked like George Mason just tried to force it a little bit too much without any sort of setup from Firefly. Eon tried to flash in with the Hemo Plague, tried to get something down, but he kind of just baits his team, and now Texas A&M is sitting at a 2k gold lead going into the 20-minute mark.
Yeah, they're doing well. Good rotation. And I love the fact that they were so patient on those spells, the big ones. The Cataclysm onto the front line, holding them placed to the side of GMU. Couldn't chase in onto the carries. And then the Orianna Shockwave, holding until GMU collected as 4 members. They were just so hard grouped when they honestly really should have backed out. They lost the Drake. They weren't doing well. The side of Texas A&M were practically under their turret at that point, and they still group as 4 on top of the same spot. Shockwave comes out, turning that fight massively in A&M's favor, and then they just continue and clean it up from there. Vladimir maybe up so far in the game on that top side, being down in the kill now and assist to Kennen means that Kennen still has some just overall holding pressure. I don't think he can kill Vladimir, but he can definitely keep Vladimir busy on that top side.
He can keep him busy, and now as the game goes on without any sort of dragons on the map, without Baron really being a point of pressure, the big thing to note is this where do they try to force around these team fights, and who do they keep in these different lanes? For terms of lane allocation, you kind of want to have your Kai'Sa, who's the focal point, who's the strongest member on your team in that mid lane, so he can roam into the sides, can roam into any of these skirmishes. But the problem is, Jace wins this Orianna side lane matchup, or does he?
Or does he? Hold on, with the J4 here as well. They're going to get the electrocute Rock, and sorry, Jace, you're going to go down. Black Panda sitting at 5-0-3, tied in those kills and assists with the Kai'Sa. Beautiful play and collapse from Z3SS, who just does a good job seeing a point that the side of GMU were not ready to defend, picking up another kill.
And I might have spoken a little bit too soon there. I thought that Jace would have the advantage, and I'm pretty sure Anime Lover did too. He got baited by Mr. Black Panda, kind of just walking up, and with Z3SS coming in, trailing the Orianna's side lane, able to pick up the kill, able to actually get the Jace flash as well, and now that play is going to be so much easier to execute. They can try to farm this Jace in the side lane if he doesn't get good deep vision to help him push up.
Well, this is one of those things that for the first time, GMU is on the back foot. They're down about 3,000 to gold, and it's not really where they've been the last 2 games. So one of those times, you played 2 games, you've been in the lead, you felt confident, you might have been able to find those pressure points yourself. However, you could just turn around and play like that in Game 3 even though you are down. They need to respect the fact that they are down. They need to respect the fact they don't have that into the enemy jungle vision that they used to have. Look at these control wards from A&M on this bottom side. They've got in their own jungle, marking off all of the opportunities for GMU to try to step in. There's no chance for GMU to really make those aggressive plays that they kind of enjoyed making in these last 2 games. They need to play a bit more respectful. Baron's up in 15 seconds. And we are well known in the last 2 games between these 2 teams for the Baron dance. I think game 1, a Baron dance lasted for a solid 5 or 6 minutes. It was crazy.
Yep, they love Baron is definitely the big spot for both these teams, as they love to team fight and try to do those deathball comps. Big thing I want to know as we go into this game. Ooh, Play just gonna catch him.
Yeah, Kushna might be in a bit of trouble. Firefly can throw out the Glacial Fist, but it's not going to be enough. Nice Killer Instinct to get Kushna out of harm's way, except the Ace of the Hole's going to fly in. Instincts! No way! Sets is actually able to block it. Now Firefly's going to go down to the turret, and that's like a drag Ducks up as well. They're going to drop the Vladimir. Are you kidding me? Texas A&M get the punish in the top lane. Kushna lives. Oh my word!
That looked so good for the side of George Mason. It looked like they'd finally caught out this Kai'Sa, who has this 850 gold bounty. I was going to declare that Leon, now with the bounty from Kai'Sa, was going to be able to scale into this game, but just cannot finish him off with all of the summoners being onto the Kai'Sa, and they're just going to get the Baron here.
Yeah, taking down Firefly, taking down Sejuani. That is Baron for the first time this series, going over to A&M. I'm kidding, because Zess actually stole it in game 1, but it's the first true. We are going to take the Baron and claim it for ourselves. Baron, as the anime lover himself, going to secure the Ocean Drake. That's a bit of a trade for GMU, but that is sorry scraps in terms of overall how the map stands at the moment. 5,000 gold lead for Texas A&M.
If I'm breaking down why this game might have gone the way it did, the problem that I have with Texas A&M is that, again, it is a little bit harder to execute than what we've seen in game number 1 and 2. And it really puts the point of pressure, the person that is supposed to be carrying the game, instead of it being on the anime lover as we saw in game number 1 and game number 2, and with Edon coming in for the clutch plays around the map, this game is really on to Enrique. In game number 1, we saw him play champ. We saw him play the ooh, they're going in.
Hold on, Sejuani trying to make a play, finds the stun and the ultimate. Oh, the Lantern was so close to getting Kushna out. Does not come through in time, actually dies mid-transit, so GMU finally get one. They're kind of starting that scrappy style that A&M are known for, making plays wherever they get the opportunity. Black Panda, Mr. Black Panda has to run away. Jay's going to find a nice slow there. There's a Lantern that will get you to safety. GMU unable to secure the Orianna. That would have been a bunch more shutdown gold they would have enjoyed. 950 on the Orianna at the moment.
And that shutdown onto the Kai'Sa is going to become... He's going to stall out this Baron buff a lot, and it's actually going to give a lot of gold over to Enrique. Really good pickup there. They tried it earlier on, and them not getting it ended up and caused the Baron to go down, but now they force it again, and without all of these Oh my god, he's going for it.
Vladimir going in, trying to find a little bit of a kill. Ace in the hole, gonna come through and be blocked by the Holy Slurp. Q does massive damage, but Orianna is still alive. Everyone is throwing everything at Orianna. They lose a couple of their ultis and don't get the kill. That might come back and punish them later.
Yeah, that is gonna be a big summoner loss because Eon actually spent both the flash and the teleport trying to make that play happen. And this game right now is a game about punishing summoner usage from both teams. Anytime a summoner is used by either side of Texas A&M or George Mason, the enemy team tries to look for a situation where they can punish it. Without having these summoners up in these fights, there's so much damage coming out from both teams and there's so much pick potential that if you don't have either your flash up or either your defensive abilities up, there's a big likelihood of you getting pretty much comboed out by the enemy team. I wanted to mention it as we were just stalling around this Baron. Looks like they're just gonna try to rush top tower and get it. Is the switch up in comps and who the focal point for the side of George Mason is in game number 3 compared to game number 1 and game number 2. Game number 1 and game number 2, it was Anime Lover. He was dealing the most damage. He was the person that was roaming to make plays happen with the jungler Firefly and with Eon in the side lanes. In game number 3, they picked a comp where now it's up to Enrique. He is the focal point. He is the more consistent damage. He's the one that they picked the winning lane around, and he wasn't able to get it done in this game. Kushna and the Holy Slurp were able to abuse him in level 2, and after that, they've never let go of the title.
Well, and you talked about the fact that their comp is kind of split. Sejuani wants to dive forward. You saw Vladimir flashing into multiple members of the enemy team, trying to see if he can make a play to finish off the Orianna, and yet you have a Caitlyn and a Morgana and a Jace that are all pokey champions. They're all going to be sitting way on the backside of the fight. They really want to just harass somebody down for a bit, take their health down over time, over a while, poke them out, make sure that they get shoved underneath their own turret, and then try to make some sort of play. So there's a bit of a disconnect on what these teams want to do. They're not getting the vision down, so they're not able to find the picks with the Morgana Dark Bindings that they need to set up for these picks on the squishier members of Texas A&M. And A&M are punishing them for it. They're doing a fantastic job with these rotations. Overall, they have just done much, much better this game around. And it's slightly coming to be a game of who can kill Mr. Black Panda on this Orianna. 6-0-3. 3 items completed. This Orianna is so, so strong.
One thing I do want to harp and do want to say is a problem for the side of Texas A&M as they continue in this game, and if the game ends up going into game number 4, is that even when they do have the gold lead and when they are ahead in terms of game state and in terms of tempo, I always feel like their vision control is so lacking compared to Texas, and compared to George Mason actually. Everybody on the side of George Mason has a pink ward. If you look at just the vision, the amount of control that George Mason actually has around this Baron side is kind of ridiculous. They have 3 pink wards plus a couple of wards just dropped around. While comparing it to Texas A&M, they are getting pressure around the spot side, but there's not really wards down on the map, so they're not really able to get much in terms of deep vision, and they're not really able to set up plays like George Mason does when they are far ahead.
Oh, this is so nice from the side of GMU. From the side of A&M. They noticed that the Baron had 30 seconds. GMU was not in position, so they got themselves the Ocean Drake, grabbed it super, super quick, and now can try to make a play for Baron if the side of GMU started up. They've still got 13 seconds to show what. They know that they're in the lead. They know that they're the stronger team. They know that they can take this fight, as long as they don't lose their carry. They really need to keep this Orianna and the Kai'Sa alive. With the frontliner of that J4 and Thresh, they should be able to do that because they've been doing a great job of healing for those carries. Look at them, they're just walking in, clearing away the enemy vision.
In terms of this Baron setup, there is a good amount of wards for both teams. Texas A&M were able to come in and able to grab. Oh, they're going.
Hold on, Cannon might be dropped. You see the sacrificial lamb. Gracious goes gold in the meantime, though. J4 is going to cataclysm the front line. Once again, he's dropping low. Orianna Shockwave only lands really onto about 2 members. The rest of the team going to be trying to go forward. Firefly is going to be dropped as well as the Vladimir. And again, the carries, the Kai'Sa, going for a double kill. She's got the killer instinct. Rylas goes golden, trying to avoid the last bit of damage that Kushna wants. And Orianna says, I'm the other carry. Let me go for a double kill myself. Enrique gets dropped. Kushna goes for the triple, and they have all but aced the side of GMU in one fell swoop, and now they can move into an inhibitor turret.
They might try to go for the end here. They are pushing up pretty far. They should just back up and go for the inhibitor. Jace probably is going to be able to clear out the minions, and they are going to just head back to grab the Baron buff here. Again, good team. Oh.
I was just going to say, I don't know if J4 meant to miss the lantern or if Holy Slurp just stepped a little bit too far too quickly. But either way, hold on, Thresh. Yeah, go back and clear that control ward. They're going to start up the Baron for themselves. Sejuani is alive, but he is nowhere in position.
Oh,
to chase this down. Jace has a chance of stealing it away, but J4 will secure it with a nice snipe, and that means Baron for A&M again.
That team fight honestly looked pretty good starting off on the side of George Mason. They were able to catch out Procious on the cannon pick, get him really, really low, and it looked like Eon might have been able to get into the backline and threaten them, but just not enough damage. They just haven't hit their item spikes, especially on the Vladimir, who wants to be getting this, either the Death Cap or the Spellbinder's next item. Not able to hit enough damage, and without the Caitlyn hitting the 3-item, 4-item mark, which she now has hit, without her being able to output damage safely in these team fights, the Kai'Sa's just able to clean up, and Kai'Sa able to dive into the backline, and then with the shielding from Mr. Black Panda, she's just able to run through the team of George Mason, and I don't think that George Mason really has the ability to keep up against this Baron buff. They don't have the team fight. They don't have the team fighting, and it's all going to be up to Eon to really get like pretty much a 5-man Hemo Plague plus all of his Tides of Blood onto the backline of Texas A&M.
And more credit to Zest, Z3SS on this Jarvan the Fourth. We talked about how he was so far behind the Sejuani at the beginning of the game. He wasn't able to do that much. He's still behind 30 CS. He doesn't care. He's focused on being a CC frontline monster for his team. He started off with a nice vow. He's given over to that Kai'Sa. Hold on, though. They're actually kind of being caught out here. The pit comp finally comes online, despite it taking about 4 years for GMU to actually make something happen there and kill the Thresh. So many shields coming out to keep him alive for as long as they could. He still goes down. So with that, nothing really happens though. GM still are going to lose their top lane turret as Kennen is split pushing on the side lanes.
That is the best thing that you can hope for if you are on the side of George Mason there. Just delay this Baron. Baron should be gone in about a minute and a half, so as long as they can just delay this Baron buff and get these solo picks onto the side lane, it's going to be solid for George Mason to just keep delaying, because they do hit the item power spikes. Vladimir does get 4 items, he can carry out the fight. It's so hard when the mid lane Orianna is so fed, and she commands so much respect with this ball in these team fights. And Kai'Sa right now sitting on 4 items plus the stopwatch is not invincible in these team fights with the Orianna shield. And it's gonna be up to either Firefly or Rylus to land one of these clutch CCs, and actually have to land it twice against the QSS being finished by the Kai'Sa.
Alright, the Infernal Drake started up and gone. Blink of an eye. Texas A&M, perfect position to grab that. Waiting on the timer. Secure an Infernal for themselves. Scale up a bit more damage like Orianna even needs it at this point. 1,000 gold bounty on her head. They're going to push as 5 in this bottom lane. Sejuani, the only one to defend, is all 5 members are rushing it down. They should be able to secure not only the turret, but potentially the inhibitor afterwards. The turret falls. Now you got the Caitlyn and Morgana having joined the Sejuani. Let's see if they can defend this. The inhibitor falls as well. Double inhibitors down. Shockwave lands. Caitlyn's gone! Are you kidding me? Mr. Black Panda with fantastic positioning. And A4 locks in 3 members with the Cataclysm. You can throw out all his spells. It doesn't matter. A&M are so far ahead. Orianna may fall. They're actually trying to mount the defense. Kennan's going to fall as well, but Kushna's still alive. He's making them pay for it, shoving them underneath their own fountain. He's going to clear up the minions, trying to go in, see what he could do, and that's 3 members of A&M a little bit over aggressive as they have to back away, leaving the Nexus turrets practically untouched.
And it looked like such a good pick. Enrique immediately dies to Mr. Black Panda's Shockwave plus the QWQ combo. The problem being is that when you dive that deep, especially against Nexus towers, The Vladimir has hit his 3 items. He is on death cap, and he was sitting on blue pot as well. And he gets a 4-man hemo plate into a massive damage combo, getting the Tides of Blood pretty much under all of the backline. And without Mr. Black Panda being a threat in these team fights, without him having any of his cooldowns up, Eon was able to get so much damage off in these team fights, able to burst down and actually picked up that shutdown gold onto the Orianna. Texas A&M, I want to see them close this out cleanly. There's no reason for them to make plays like that, and they have so much pressure, especially having the bot lane inhibitor down. Just siege around the Baron. Just pick up the Baron, close this out cleanly, and go on to a game 4 where you can try to make more and more hype.
Yeah, that shutdown gold is, I mean, 1,000 gold. It boosts you and helps you catch back up so fast. And the Sejuani is actually becoming a pretty massive tank, having completed 2 solid tank items for herself. The Warmogs as well, the reset after team fight. She's going to be jumped on Cataclysm and the Threat Death Sentence. A nice flash Firefly over the wall keeps the Sejuani alive. She's going to be re-engaging onto Zeth, who just grabs the Lantern to get out. So a little bit of touch and go on the tanks. However, the Sejuani losing that will start the recall. Keep that in mind. She doesn't have flash, so there's no real opportunity besides a blast cone or a board charge to get over the wall and try to steal away the Baron, which seems to be Texas A&M's target as they're waiting around for those 22 seconds. Crucial actually takes a chunk of damage from the Jace.
Both teams are just going around this Baron Bay at this point, just playing the Baron vision. They do have enough pinks and in the side of Texas A&M to where they can try to keep Baron vision. The big problem for George Mason is that their inventories are pretty full at this moment, so they're going to end up needing to sell some of these items to try to get more and more pinks so they can't test the vision and have wards for this Vladimir to flank. If they can get a good Vladimir flank ward to where Vladimir can get into this backline without having to burn a lot of his sums, without having to burn the flash that he's going to get in the next minute and a half, there is a possibility of him pretty much one-shotting Kushna without him having any chance of responding.
Alright, the Baron is live, but Texas A&M are not interested in going for it yet. They're going to clear the mid wave, wait for their super minions in the bottom wave to push up a little bit. Perhaps they don't want to be flanked by GMU if they decide, you know what, we're just going to walk right past you, ignore the Baron, we're going to go instead for your middle second tier turret. They've got the J4 and the Kaisa taking away the turret to be wanting it. The rest of the team not quite ready to respond from GMU, and this was what was attempted, I believe, by GMU in one of the previous games, but now successful by Texas A&M.
They were just kind of caught napping there. They saw the 3 members on the side of Texas A&M, and they thought that there's no way that the Jarvan and Kaisa could do it. Well, the Jarvan and Kaisa have an Infernal and a Mountain Dragon there. And Kaisa's sitting on 4 items at this point, so she's able to pretty much run that Baron down. And with this Baron, the big thing that Texas A&M want is to open up that second inhibitor. They need to get the second inhibitor pushed so that this game pretty much goes down to a binary scale. You just push the last lane without the super minions. You just wait for your other super minion waves to come in, and you just win the game. It's very easy when you get to that 2 inhibitors down.
They're going to target the Drake instead at the moment, clearing out the enemy team vision. That's a blue ward in there. Just walk into the brush and poke it. They'll clear it out. Looks like GMU, though. They don't have the Vladimir at the moment. The collapse may be coming through. J4 decides to start it off, and Black Panda has tons of damage for Riot Last will take him down. They know that it's time Esports to start. The Elder Drake should be able to secure that as GMU not interested in fighting them.
And they don't fight for the Elder, they don't fight for the Baron here, and there's just more and more resources going over to the side of Texas A&M. They're gonna have to fight for this second inhibitor. They should fight at least the inhibitor line or the second inhibitor line, because if they keep just giving away these objectives over to Texas A&M, you have the Vlad late game insurance policy, but if you are getting sieged by so many minions in every single lane, there's not much that the Vlad can do in these team fights.
He's got to pick a time to make a stand, otherwise you just flat out lose the game. The bottom lane inhibitor has respawned, so they do have their inhibitor line, and if they win a team fight, there is a chance to come back, but right now, down 9,000 gold. They've got a ways to go to get back. Again, though, we got a late game. We got 37 minutes in. Both teams love to fight, but neither team are really in position in all 3 of these last games to close it out early on. They like to just kind of keep things a bit chaotic as we scale later and later into the game.
Lads in the side.
Ion using the pool very early on, gets hooked by the Death Sentence, but is blocked shielded by Morgana, so not too concerned with that. Middle inhibitor down. Bottom lane inhibitor the target. They've got a wave around the corner that can help out in a moment. Are they going to go for the 3rd inhibitor, or are they going to go for the Nexus turrets? As you said, they should have fought around the inhibitor line, not fighting around it. Now they've lost it. It's just a matter of minutes before double waves of inhibitors are crashing.
Now, if Texas A&M plays this one smart, they can pretty much make this a no contest to the top lane inhibitor. All they have to do is just wait for that bot lane and mid lane super minion waves to come pour through and to put pressure on those Nexus towers so they can siege down the last inhibitor line. The big thing to note is that pretty much everybody on the side of George Mason has hit that 4 to 3 item power spike. So gold is meaning less and less. That 9k gold that Texas A&M has doesn't really mean too much. It's just they have to contest somewhere.
Well, they've dropped the trap line from the Caitlyn, but it's not going to mean that much if you're not willing to go in. Your poke composition doesn't work when you're the ones that are just getting you shoved out because the front line is just so darn tanky. They got Ocean Drakes as well to heal right back up whenever they lose a little bit of health. They've also got that GA on the Kaisa, so if you try to full on engage all 5 members onto her, drop her, the GA is just going to bring her right back up. So now with 3 inhibitors down, it is just seconds ticking away as A&M look for the opportunity. Now's the play for GMU. Let's see what they can do. They're going to drop the cannon. He's going to be gone. Enrique gets the kill. In the meantime, though, Zest getting a little bit of a trap on the Morgana. Caitlyn being shoved out of the fight for the moment. The Death Sentence lands on Anime Lover, forcing the Jace backwards as Firefly dropping low. 2 members knocked up by the J4, and nice Morgana Shockwave needs to work on. It's going to go down. Ion into the back line. He's going to go golden as well. But despite a scrappy fight, A&M are still winning, and they still got Superman's pushing all 3 waves. It's a 3-4-3 at the moment.
And you can just hear it in my voice. These fights are so close. It's just Ion is not able to do too much. Oh my god, they're going on.
Nice 2 members knocked up by J4, but the GA has been popped. Anime Lover has to run, but he's getting his health back little by little. J4 is gone.
Trap.
This is a potential turnaround. Anime Lover stepping forward. Holy slow. Getting a 2-man play, but Firefly tanking it up. Gonna try to get those slows down. Needs 1 more auto attack to find the stun. The Thresh should fall. And that will be a very slow and very delayed ace, but GMU win the fight. And they now have to defend their Nexus turrets that are being sieged upon by the Super Minions.
They win the fight, and these gold leads just don't matter at this point. There's so much gold on every single member. Every single carry is hitting that 4 or 5 item mark. The problem is, though, that fight could have happened a little bit earlier, maybe when you hadn't lost all 3 inhibs. Because now, when the Baron buff does come up in the next 35 minutes, how does George Mason contest without losing their base? That's the big issue.
And they caught the carry of Kracius. Not the main carry of Orianna or Kaisa, but they got the cannon down very early in that last fight. I don't even think he was able to use the Zanya as he was CC'd for so long. He got dropped, which meant that it was immediately a 4-3-5. In that situation, you got more members. You can slowly shut things down. And Vladimir, as you talked about, late game scaling. It's 41 minutes, baby. This Vladimir has scaled. He practically 1v3s the back line, dropping the Orianna very low, getting Kaisa to fall as well. It was 1,000 gold bounty to, I can't see at the moment, one of the members of GMU, and it's still another 650 gold bounty on that Kaisa, as they're now going to target the Baron. The GA is gone on that Kaisa, though, so keep that in mind. It's going to be burned down. Baron over to A&M. They say, you know what, that last whatever it was, didn't work out so well for us. Maybe now they got the Baron and the Super Minions, maybe now we can finally find victory in this game.
And if I'm Texas A&M, I just wait for the next Elder. Just wait for that double Elder stack that it lasts so ridiculously long, and the burn is going to be way too much for the side of George Mason to deal with. There's no reason for them to... They already have all 3 inhibs. Just wait for the next Elder. If you're trying to play the safe, if you're trying to end out game 3 cleanly without having the possibility of a big
J4 is
turnaround.
going to go right in, trying to jump onto Rylast. He's going to get a huge tank boost and to get Lantern to safety out. They've just burned the Zanyas by the Morgana Rylast. But again, it is the target of Enrique, who's got a GA4 himself. Ultimate use. Gracious going to be able to get out for the moment. Firefly going to be in trouble. Rylast drops a little bit. Something really targeting you want. Gracious finds the Morgana. Finds 3 members with the slicing Maelstrom. Out the killer instinct from the Kaisa. Kushna's doing damage. They drop the Vladimir. That's going to be the Caitlyn coming back up for the GA and immediately dropped Anime Lovers. Tries to do what he can, knowing that this is the end of the game. Goes down himself as Oriana is going to end the game 11-2-11. Nexus turrets are gone by the Super Minions. Nexus to fall as well. And A and M finally, after a 42-minute crawl, strike back and maybe start the reverse sweep.
That was a game that was so back and forth, and at any moment I thought that George Mason might have been able to clutch it back out. Eon was getting such fantastic hemo plagues and great tides of blood off of these team fights, but again, they just chose to fight a little bit too late. They're getting triple inhibs down, all these super minions, and they had to make the engage. They had to force something, and they make a bad force. Eon is not able to get into the backline, and Kashuna just takes over, and him and Mr. Black Panda had a field day with the side of George Mason. What a fantastic match by both these teams. And going into Game 4, that momentum, that 2-0 lead that they had in this best of 5 series, it's getting turned around.
Let's see if the side of Texas A&M can carry this victory, lift their spirits high into the next game, which will be our Game 4. GMU kind of have to lick their wounds and figure out, hey, we got the first 2 games on lock. We know what we're doing. This game, we're on a different composition and kind of get punished for it. So we'll find out in game number 4. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.